little after 5.
Oh my God. Well,
Yeah.
then I'll just hope that that's enough.
All right, we're
I'd
going
give yourself a
live.
6. Oh, we'll have all the kinks worked out by the time we're done tonight.
That's true.
Let's hope. Are you figuring out where to go? So Zoom is taking you to our Facebook page.
Yes. Yeah, it's live.
It's live.
Oh.
So we should be on Facebook at the moment, huh?
Yes, we are.
All righty then.
Hello, Facebook
Then I guess
world.
Then I guess I will start. Okay, so hello and welcome to May Zoom Night presented by NAMI Clackamas in recognition of Mental Health Awareness Month. I'm Gary Marschke, and along with my less invisible than before co-hosts, Max and Sarah, we'll be your guides through this anthology of music, comedy, and dance presented by people affected by mental health issues. So tonight and every Monday in May, we'll be featuring artists performing and presenting their work, followed by a discussion with a few of our artists around the therapeutic value of the arts. Stay around, ask questions if you're so inclined, either directly by raising your hand on the chat box here or through chat. Also, you could post a comment on Facebook. Everyone is muted who is on the Zoom call. Please stay that way unless and until you're called on for a question or a comment. And before I get into tonight's lineup, and because we are on Facebook, I want to take a couple minutes to remind you that NAMI Clackamas provides education, support, and advocacy for everyone affected by mental health issues through our classes, presentations, support groups, and one-on-one assistance, aka Max, delivered in our community by people, mostly volunteers, with lived experience. All of our classes and support groups are online and available no matter where you are. Family to family for loved ones who care for or about someone with mental health issues, peer-to-peer for those who identify as having mental health issues, and basics for parents and caregivers of young children with mental health challenges. We also offer seminars like QPR, Question, Persuade, and Refer. It's a suicide intervention tool, often compared to CPR. Ending the Silence, a primer for parents and caregivers of children on the symptoms and signs of mental health issues, along with resources, tools, and techniques to assist and support. In Our Own Voice, which is the ultimate empathy builder. It puts 10 diverse faces and disparate stories to this thing called mental illness. And Compartiendo Esperanza, a mental health 101 program for our Spanish-speaking families. And you will find all of that and more on our webpage, www.namicc.org. So tonight is Perform Your Peace Night, and we're fortunate to have 6 performers. Singer, songwriter, poet, and Renaissance man Doug Westberg, comedians David Milliken, Tara Ralstat, and Molly McNabb, dance instructor and choreographer Jackie Camacho, and finally me, the resident karaoke crooner. Following the performances, we'll be hanging out a bit, talking about how our chosen art form has helped us navigate the journey of achieving and maintaining mental health. So without any further blah, 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 let me introduce our first performer, Doug Westberg, singing his original song, Sometimes I Imagine Asking Joni. Here's what Doug has to say about this piece. Sometimes I Imagine Asking Joni, written in 2003, is from my second album, Waiting for the Bars to Rust. Its contemporary jazz chord progressions portrayed the strong influence of later Steely Dan. The idea behind the lyric was born when I noticed that certain songs never failed to make me weep for no discernible reason. Amelia by Joni Mitchell, Dr. Wu by Steely Dan, Silent All These Years by Tori Amos, and Luca by Suzanne Vega. These are songs you'll hear referenced in the refrains. The verses form a parallel thread in which I describe my experience of depression in the first 2 verses and my alcoholism in the second 2. Although the latter part veers into fiction, inasmuch as our hapless narrator can't seem to stay sober for more than 3 months, and I've been sober for 44 years. So here we go. Without any further ado, take it away, Doug. Or Mac. One click, 2 clicks, 3 clicks. There we go.
There's an interplanetary satellite named Voyager. It flew past Neptune 14 years ago. Empty interstellar space lies 10 years after Pluto. But I feel like I've got an inch to go. Sometimes I imagine asking Joni why it is Amelia always makes me want to cry. She was just an aviatrix lost in ancient history, falling like a teardrop from the sky. Me, I'm always snatching failure from the jaws of victory. I do it just to feel like I'm alive. There's a place I like to call the Black Hole of Calcutta. It lurks deep down just out of my control. It's where I go on down days when I feel like I'm imploding, a dying supernova in my soul. Sometimes I pretend I'm asking Donald and Walter, why would Dr. Wu of all things make me want to cry? He was just an herbalist who came here from Jakarta, mixing powders in his Pearl Street dive. Am I just a shadow of a man who never started? When will I stop feeling like I'm 5? For years I tried to fill up that black hole with Southern comfort. I've got the victim rolled down pretty good. I could buy and sell Bill Gates if I could only find a company that paid a guy for being misunderstood. I put together 3 months clean and sober in the program, but they said I couldn't use mood-altering meds. So I stopped going to meetings, then the study lost its funding, and the treatment center didn't have a bed. Sometimes I imagine asking Tori, why would silent all these years invariably make me cry? First off, I'm a guy, my psyche's gotta be mistaken. You know how it is, we're just palookas. So why can't I stop feeling like my wallet's just been taken? Unless that is to say, my name is Luca. Unless that is to say, my name is Luca.
Wow. I've often thought about what I'd say or ask if I encountered one of my early influences. I'm betting not nearly as eloquently or as melodically as Doug did. Who would you pick and what would you ask? Drop your answer in a chat box or on the comment line, and we'll share maybe as the evening goes on, if anybody's out there. And Doug will be back with more original material later. Next up are 2 brief pieces by Damon Milliken. He describes himself as lively, engaging, actively working on his recovery. He says he's discovered that his healing can be revealed through mental health comedy. He says, quote, if it makes him smile, it's all worthwhile. So, Damon, why don't you go ahead and make us smile? That's your cue back. He's there, I promise. Well, I ought to be careful. What I promise.
Today, I'm having lunch, frozen dinner. I look at the box, it reads, there are two kinds of people. People who love Indian food and those who haven't tried it yet. I'm an anxious bipolar narcissist with anger issues. There are two kinds of people. People people who know I'm mentally ill and those who haven't started running yet.
And video number 2, just in case. It is funny. It's worth waiting for. I promise.
Sometimes I just feel like a repressed, mentally ill, roly-poly geriatric. Mario calls me his elder. What the hell is that? Even the idea triggers all sorts of anxiety. Next thing you know, he'll be calling me an elder support specialist. Oh, hell, why not? I can see myself standing outside the DBSA rooms, wearing this white-ass tie and my grandpa's dumpy brown suit, greeting members before they go in the rooms. Hi, friend. Welcome to DBSA, a peer support group. And I'm your elder support specialist. I'm chock full of wisdom. All right, gather around, shut up, listen up. These are the ground rules. No swimming, no fishing, no spitting, no vaping. These are your rules. Now get your ass in there, support yourself.
I'll be back some. There I am. Okay. You know, his portrayal of that elder support specialist made me think of the greeters at Walmart and McDonald's. We could use those in front of our peer support groups, I suppose. Next up, we got Jackie Camacho, former professional dancer who now works as a graphic designer, dance instructor, and choreographer. Recently, she did a brief and stellar stint with Nami Clackamas as our COVID-19 outreach coordinator. Here's Jackie giving a little context for her dance routine to the song Medicine by the English indie folk trio Daughter. Max.
Hi, my name is Jackie. I am a former NAMI Clackamas employee, current volunteer, and I am a dancer as well. I was put into dance when I was very, very young as a way to kind of help with some severe anxiety that I had as a child. And fast forward, almost 30 years. And I am a dancer. I retired from pro dancing in 2019, but I currently teach, coach, and choreograph. So I actually haven't performed in over 2 years, and I didn't really intend on performing this piece. I choreographed it for some of my oldest students as kind of a class exercise, but I decided to dance it, record it, and I really hope you enjoy.
Pick it all up and start again. You've got a second chance, you could go home, escape it all, it's just irrelevant. It's just medicine. It's just medicine. You could still be what you want to, what you said you were when I met you. You've got a warm heart, you've got a beautiful brain, but it's disintegrating from all the medicine, from all the medicine, from all the medicine. You could still be what you want to be, what you said you were when you met me.
Wow. Now that was powerful. If you or someone you know is thinking about suicide, call the hotline 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. And thank you, Jackie, for that awesome display of talent. Next up, we have the comedy stylings of the one and only Molly McNabb. Born and raised in the Columbia River Gorge, Molly too found that comedy was a way to cope with her life and mental illness when she thought all hope was lost. Diagnosed with bipolar disorder during her last term of medical school and later schizoaffective disorder, her life hasn't gone exactly as planned, and comedy has been there to help her process every twist and turn. When she's not telling jokes online, she can be found teaching mental health comedy, cooking, or being the proud parent of a 12-year-old cat named Alice. Molly, make us laugh.
Greetings. I come to you from Vancouver, Washington, land of straws, plastic bags, and people who wear deodorant. I keep my comedy simple. I don't improvise. I don't use props. I don't do voices. I hear
out of
voices.
here.
I just don't do them.
You have a good night.
Wow, guys,
Well,
we made it. 2020 was a year. Whew, that was a rough one.
Okay.
That's all I really have to say. That wasn't a joke. It was a year. We made it. So before I was a comedian, I was a doctor. But like a few years back, I decided that like online stand-up comedy would be so much more lucrative than medicine. And I went ahead and like had my residency program let me go. Some would say it was my schizoaffective disorder, but I'm gonna go ahead and say they wanted my comedy career to take off. So you'd think, since I'm a doctor, that I'd be so much more helpful in this pandemic. But so I got my medical degree in 2009 with the pace of medicine. That's basically the dark ages at this point. Like, that was back when we could use antibiotics and like pain medication. That's like me learning about the widespread use of leeches for bloodletting and like cocaine. So I really did try to be useful in the pandemic. I did so by trying to stay out of the hospital. So being a doctor and being a patient too is really hard. I know when I know more about something than they do, which is always, I tend to think I can take care of myself, which is probably why I end up in the ER frequently. And nurses on this psych unit always tend to think I'm delusional. For some reason, they don't take me seriously when I say, no, really, I am a doctor. So guys, since I have no marketable skills anyway, and my mental illness is in full swing, I have ended up on welfare. We need to talk about all those people on welfare that you see in the grocery store whipping their food stamp card out of their designer purses while holding their iPhone and buying organic quinoa. Holy crap, that's me. Guys, it's been a long way to fall from being a doctor to being on welfare. I used to think about all the places I could go to dinner. Now I think about all the ways I can cook a potato without electricity. So about a year ago, I was on the verge of homelessness. I was all set to move into this house, and it turned out to be a crack house. Long story short, you can't turn a crack house into a crack home. But guys, I was one of the lucky ones. I quickly found a place to live. It's an apartment for people with mental illnesses, which I clearly qualify for. The catch is, though, it comes with a roommate who also has mental health challenges. So guys, after several tries, I finally lucked out and got one with the cleaning type of OCD. Before she moved in, the only place that was ever clean, like pristine, in our apartment was the shower. Like, you get two depressed people, that shower doesn't get used very often. Like, there were times where I had to like toss out the crock pot and a couple blankets just to get in. Like, we use it as storage. This roommate, though, she's great. Like, there were stains on the floor that I just assumed were part of the design. Like, they came up with this process called scrubbing. Yeah, I hadn't heard of it either. So I do love my apartment. I have really nice neighbors, but I've learned that I'm not too good at making friends. Like, apparently to make friends the standard way, you like have shared interests with those people. And you say like, hi, I'm Molly and I like dogs or whatever you do, beats me. But like, no, I get real awkward and I like overshare and stuff. And so like, I'm like, hi, I'm Molly. Did you know the average human farts 14 times a day? Well, you see, I'm a little above average at 17, at least while I'm awake. So what about you? Okay. So guys, I don't have a lot of friends this way, but I sure have to hang on to the ones I have because they know they are true friends and they know I'm not just full of hot air. Okay, thank you. Have a good time. Bye.
Well, very funny, Molly. I think Alice would be proud. So back to singer-songwriter Doug Westberg with another original called Shaking Off Signs. Doug describes the origin of the song this way, quote, "Shaking Off Signs is from my 2020 COVID-19 album, I Get the Blues. And this video of it was taken at the East Side Bar and Grill in March of 2019. The piano style owes a debt to the great Bill Payne of Little Feat and the Doobie Brothers. The title metaphor is from a poem I wrote shortly after high school. And as I recall, it was the only poem I wrote between 1972 and 1997. The phrase refers to a classic baseball scene in which the catcher puts down a sign for a certain pitch. Pitcher doesn't want to pitch that pitch, shakes his head. Occasionally, more than occasionally in the movies, the catcher puts down signal after signal until he finally runs out of signs and he has to run out to the mound. For me, it's a perfect metaphor for the paralysis of the will. So, over to you, Doug.
She's about to walk away. I can't think of a thing to say. One more pitch and the victory is mine, and I'm just standing there shaking off signs. 2 on, 2 out with the game on the line, and I'm just shaking off signs. Should I wear my heart on my sleeve? Or do I stand here and watch her leave? One more pitch and the victory is mine, and I'm just standing there shaking off signs. 2 on, 2 out with the game on the line, I'm just shaking off signs. I'm just shaking off signs. She's as pretty as she can be. I'm much too pretty for the likes of me. One more pitch and the victory is mine, and I'm just standing there shaking off signs. 2 on, 2 out with the game on the line, I'm just shaking off signs. One more pitch and the victory is mine, and I'm just standing there shaking off signs. 2 on, 2 out with the game on the line, I'm just shaking off signs. I'm just shaking off signs. What if she thinks I'm just a clown? I'd rather die than be shot down. So I said like a bump on a log, fuck this shit, I'm gonna get a dog. One more pitch and the victory is mine, and I'm just standing there shaking off signs. 2 on, 2 out with the game on the line, I'm just shaking off signs. One more pitch and the victory is mine, and I'm just standing there shaking off signs. 2 on, 2 out with the game on the line, I'm just shaking off signs. I'm just shaking off signs. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome very much, Doug. Thanks for the F-bomb. I've known Doug for several years now, and I've always appreciated his way with a lyric. Smart, funny, often profound. He never disappoints, and he's not bad on the piano either. And speaking of never disappointing, it's almost time for NAMI's annual walk. And so in a moment of shameless self-promotion, we're going to talk about it. It's become a virtual event last year and again this year. It's the largest single friend and fundraiser for NAMI, and virtual or live, It's always a blast. So listen up. Take it away, Max.
We've been walking together for quite a few years. Just about everybody, every family, in one way or another, their lives have been touched by some type of mental health issue.
So Mia and I came out today to do our virtual walk. What's great about the virtual walk is not only we're creating awareness, but we can do that anywhere. And it doesn't just have to be walk, it can be whatever you want it to be.
One of the most awesome parts about the virtual NAMI Walks Your Way event is being able to customize and tailor the event to your own social group and your own team, and then getting to come back to your computer and see what everybody's doing online and on social media.
For NAMI Walks Your Way, I am excited because I get to go wherever I want this time around.
Seeing the amount of support that this event brings with so many people coming together gives you that amazing hope that we can together as a society battle that stigma and make it acceptable for everyone to feel that it's okay to be diagnosed with mental illness and there is hope.
In the Black communities where I grew up, mental health is not a topic at all. So people seeing me out here, I feel that it will open up some doors for young African males and women.
Doing this to the soccer team is one of my favorite parts about supporting NAMI. The NAMI walks are always so much fun, and to speak with them about mental health, and you can see light bulbs going off in their heads, and they're all like, how can I get involved with this? Like, why was I never taught this way?
The greatest part is just seeing tons of people with their t-shirts, family, friends. To me, it's like a class reunion. It's a great fundraiser because with the monies that come in, it promotes our educational programs that are free for everyone.
It's been a year, and that's why we decided to do this on her anniversary of her death, to live like Sierra and together come and do this NAMI Walk Your Way.
It just brings us all together to promote what NAMI is about. Raising awareness, stomping out stigma, and recognizing that recovery is possible.
Mental health for all means no one will get left behind.
Mental health for all.
Like the sign says, please join us on May 22nd. So next up is me. I'm a closet crooner, karaoke junkie who finds singing to be incredibly therapeutic and an emotional release, which is why I'm attracted to lyrics before melody. I've chosen a song by Frank Sinatra that could very well be my theme song. And here I go.
That's life. That's what all those people say. You're riding high in April, shot down in May. But I know I'm gonna change that too. When I'm back on top in June. I said that's life. And as funny as it may seem, some people get their kicks just stomping on a dream. But I don't let it get me down. 'Cause this fine old world, it keeps spinning around. See, I've been a puppet, a pauper, a pirate, a poet, a pawn and a king. I've been up and down and over and out. But I know one thing, each time I find myself laying flat on my face, well, I pick myself up and I get back in the race. That's life, I tell you, and I can't deny it. Many times I thought of quitting, but my heart just ain't gonna buy it. And if I didn't think it worth one single try, well, I'd jump right on a big bird, then I'd fly. 'Cause I've been a puppet, a pauper, a pirate, a poet, a pawn and a king. I've been up, I've been down, I've been over and out. But I know this one thing, each time I find myself laying flat on my face, well, I pick myself up and I get back in the race. That's life, I tell you, and I can't deny it. Many times I thought of quitting, but my heart just ain't gonna buy it. But if there's nothing shaking come this here July, I might just roll myself up in a big ball and cry. My, oh my.
Gary, you're muted.
Well, I'm muted, so there we go. So thank you, me. I've never met a microphone I didn't like, but the feeling isn't always mutual. So I've never been comfortable hearing or seeing myself on camera. So I'm just going to cruise into our next performer, the one and only Tara Rostat. Now, when she's not stuck at home in a pandemic, alone in her bedroom doing stand-up comedy, Tara Rostat helps organizations and communities talk about mental health, which she swears doesn't have to be awkward or uncomfortable. Tara is a professional speaker, advocate, and author who uses humor, her personal story, and the lessons she's learned to help audiences understand the experiences of those who struggle with mental health issues and their families. So Tara, share with us.
And like many of you, I was pretty much locked down all year with my family in quarantine, my husband and my 3 teenagers. So I've got some stuff I need to get off my chest, because this year has been a disaster for mental health. I mean, we're all depressed, we're all anxious, we're all feeling it. If you're feeling that way, you are not alone. This year has been hard. But I figured out some things that might help. I figured out that what I really need is someone to shop and cook for us. I mean, the pressure is intense for the meal planning. My 3 teenagers were home for like 11 weeks, and so it wasn't even just dinner, it was breakfast and lunch and dinner. If you don't have kids, you might not know this, but apparently you have to feed them every day, over and over and over. Social media just makes everything harder, because there's no good way to Instagram a picture of cup-o noodles. Those 3 dried out peas look bad in all the filters. I mean, look, back in March and April, I was all hope and optimism. This was going to be my opportunity to nurture my family through food, to cook from scratch with organic ingredients and balanced by texture and color and superfoods. By July, our meals pretty much consisted of Instacart deliveries from Costco, takeout, and leftovers. And at this point, it's a free-for-all. Cheetos for lunch, ice cream for dinner. It's been working for me. You kids might as well try it. At this point, I don't even care. We're eating cereal for dinner. I'm talking up the health benefits of fasting and taking advantage of the fact that when they play video games, they don't even notice they're hungry. But we've gone through a lot. a lot. And so I think it's important that we continue to ponder and meditate. We think about what we've learned, how we've grown, how we've built resilience. And we have. Many of you have heard about the stages of grief. Well, we've been through the 5 stages of pandemic. It started like this. Pandemic stage 1. This is an emergency. We need to buckle down because together we can do anything. Now let's go sing for the healthcare workers. Hashtag human race. That was pandemic stage 1. Pandemic stage 2, I call the cute stage. We were all still excited about Zoom calls with our friends. Jennifer, you forgot to unmute again, silly. Hey, you guys remember when we used to go to restaurants and movies? It had been 3 weeks at that point. 3 weeks at that point. We were adorable. We thought this was going to be over by summer. Why not? We still had plenty of toilet paper. We hadn't finished the Tiger King yet. Quarantine felt like a little staycation. Then came pandemic stage 3. I call this the sads. I'll never be alone again. Ever. And yet I miss Grandma. I do miss restaurants and movies. I miss caring about my appearance. I miss remembering how to button. Then it was pandemic stage 4, the toddler stage. I don't want to wear a mask. When is quarantine over? Are we there yet? I just want to hang out with my friends. I don't want to play Bingo 2020 ever again. And Jennifer, if you don't unmute yourself, how hard is this? I will cut you. And now we're in pandemic stage 5, re-entry. Seems like it ought to be easy, but it's not. It's particularly exhausting because we're headed back out into the world. We've got to people, but we'll remember how to people, and we're all socially awkward. Like, hey, hi, hey, hi, 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 hi. Is that how you say it? Hi? I mean, we don't know what to do about the masking. Like, do you want a mask? Should we still mask? Are we both masking? No masking. Okay, are you offended I'm masked? And how about social distancing? How much social distancing is correct, is enough? What if we're both inside? What if we're both outside? What if one of us is inside and one of us is outside? What if we're on a partly covered patio on a Tuesday wearing stripes while there's a northeasterly wind at 29 miles an hour? And that's all while trying to forget that at one point we believed hand sanitizers were dangerous because they were going to create germs that would kill us all. It's a lot.
It sure is a lot. Well, that was great. And speaking of quarantine, here's a stage 4 song. It's a music video I made several months into the quarantine, appropriately titled Quarantine, and set to the tune of Maybelline by Chuck Berry. Now, I'm no Chuck Berry, maybe more of a Chuck Barris. Anyway, here goes. Take it away, Max.
Quarantine, why can't you be through? Oh, quarantine, why can't you be through? I wanna start back doing those things I used to do. Ruminate, think about not being still, try my best to be all chill. Dream about life on the open road, finding ways to lighten my load. Life was good when we were high, all bumper to bumper, side by side. Quarantine, why can't you be through? Oh, quarantine, why can't you be through? I wanna start back doing those things I used to do. Looking in the mirror on top of the sill, feeling like a picture of Mr. Bill. First thing I saw was a bitter pill, months of meals all over my grill. Last week's salad, yesterday's Greek, Lord knows what dripping down my cheek. Quarantine, why can't you be through? Oh, quarantine, why can't you be through? I wanna start back doing those things I used to do. Air guitar. Put your back into it. Oh, quarantine, why can't you be through? Yeah, quarantine, why can't you be through? I wanna start back doing those things I used to do. Putting that mask over my head, making sure the virus don't spread. Glasses fogged up, couldn't see so good. Feels like breathing a piece of wood. Isolation feels like a ton of lead. Sure is better than being dead. Quarantine, why can't you be through? Damn quarantine, why can't you be through? I wanna start back doing those things I used to do. Wear a mask, save a life. Mine.
Okay, then. And for our grand finale, our third and final song from Doug Westberg, a song called Breathalyzer Boogie. I wonder what that's about. Well, according to Doug, I was writing songs for I Get the Blues in 2018 and wanted to do a rollicking boogie rock song a la ZZ Top's LaGrange. So I sat down and at the piano asking myself, now how do I do this? Never having done one before, and started to play. Lo and behold, I had the boogie in my fingers. That was a moment. In another first, I decided to use talking blues style spoken word. So much fun. The theme that begins the song is Nate Adderley's work song. And no, it is not autobiographical. It's just a freewheeling comedy romp about denial with inside details picked up from years of meeting. So romp, Doug, romp.
Papa, make me 10. the judge. I said to the judge said please don't give me that DUI. Just let me get back behind the wheel. I'll quit tomorrow. It's nothing to you. Or the day after tomorrow. Monday at the latest. Right now, I'm just gonna go have a little snort. May it please the court. Wouldn't you? Don't worry, I never drink while I'm driving. I wait till I'm pulled up at a stop sign. Thank you very, very much. Doug Westford.
Have we mentioned how important the sense of humor is to recovery? With 44 years sober under his belt, Doug knows. Thanks for making us smile. Well, that concludes our performance portion of Zoom Nights. Thank you to all of our performers who made us smile, made us think, and made us feel that we're not all alone. And thank you to those of you who were watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this sharing of talent and temerity as half as much as we did. So now, I don't know if we have any of our participants here still that would like to perhaps, I see we have Tara and Doug joined us. Hello, Doug, and maybe even Sarah. Maybe we'd like to discuss a little bit about the therapeutic aspects of the art that we practice. So I'm going to throw out a question and then I'm going to kind of back off because I've done a whole lot of talking tonight. My first question is, do the arts really affect recovery from addiction and mental health issues? Have at it.
The short answer is yes.
I would definitely agree with that as well. Yes. If you want more than that, I will say that I don't know how much they affect other people's mental health, but for the artist, it definitely impacts my mental health and makes all the difference in the world when I'm trying to find a different perspective in a hard moment. For me, it's comedy. And so I'm almost always looking for the funny, wherever it might be.
As do I. I'm always looking for the funny. Even when I write a song, I'm looking for a punchline. Sometimes the punchline doesn't come to me until after I start performing the song, and I just get done with the song and just feel compelled to keep on talking. And up comes a punchline. I have a new song called Gloom and Doom, which Gloom and Doom turned out to be my ex-wife's 2 dogs. So yeah, I've been writing songs since I was 14, and I've been writing songs for my mental health almost that long. And writing songs and writing poetry are both avenues into my soul and my inner working, which are not available just under ordinary circumstances. Things come out in my poems and my songs that I don't realize are there. And I'm not one to write songs that just sound like songs. I always have something to say in my songs, and there's always a point, there's always an arc to the story in the song. And I would like to, especially with this new album, become an ambassador for mental health, using those songs as a vehicle. And one of the my favorite examples of that is that first one that you heard, Sometimes I Imagine Asking Joni. That's a song that really comes straight from my heart with very little in between. And I love your stuff, Tara. That was really funny.
Thank you. I was thinking how if I was to attempt singing like either you or Gary, it would be comedy of a whole different, awful, terrifying kind. So to each our own, right? We do with what we were given. I know that it took me a long time to acknowledge comedy as an art form because it seemed like it wasn't serious enough or artsy enough until I thought about what qualifies as art for me, and whether it's a song that I like or a painting that I like to look at over and over again, it's that quality of wanting to return to it and wanting to experience it in a more than once. And so I thought, well, that's exactly how I feel about good comedy. I want to go listen to it again. And so that's when I started to feel like, yeah, I'm an artist. Yeah, that's it. I'm an artist. I make word art.
Indeed you do. And that's absolutely true. I was
Well,
watching.
you know, I was just going to say, I did 3 nights during a 2-week stint in Nashville on a business trip of open mic stand-up comedy. First time I'd ever done it. I had gotten into a book called Zen and the Art of Stand-Up on the plane and devoured it and decided to go to an open mic and see what it was all about. And of course, like anybody who has never met a microphone they didn't like, I said, I could do that. So I went about writing some material, and the first night that I signed up for an open mic, come to find out it was a contest. So I think there were probably 24 of us. I came in 25th out of 24, but I asked the host afterwards, I said, what, tell me something. I mean, I really need some feedback, because I was frozen up there. I was focusing on one person. I delivered it fairly monotonally. And I remember a few chuckles here and there, probably polite ones, and tepid applause when I walked off the stage. So I said, was it any good? It was my first time ever. And he actually looked at me with quite a surprise in his eyes. And he said, I'm really surprised. I would have never guessed it was your first time ever. But the best piece of feedback he had for me about the whole thing was, you got a good stage presence. And I thought, okay, well, that was the last time I did stand up, but nonetheless, it really gave me some reinforcement, at least in terms of having some sort of presence on stage, and the course that I was probably not meant to take, which was to do stand up. But it was fun. I really enjoyed it. Again, it was very therapeutic. I was out on my own, probably feeling kind of lonely and maybe a little depressed. So it was a really good outlet for me to do something like that really tested me and had me push my boundaries.
So like it was like he was saying, Gary, as a comedian, you're a pretty good roller skater.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen to that. Although I still haven't given up. I've probably got some material that I've written down over the years from time to time, but I just never got bit by the bug. So Sarah, you haven't said much over there, by the way. What's going on with you, Sarah?
I think she took off.
Oh, did she? Oh, that's right. She said she had to leave at 8 o'clock because she had something going on. So Max, you got anything to add to the discussion?
Yeah, it just makes me think of all the different ways I use art to express myself. And I've kind of like hopped around to doing drawing and painting and singing and been in choirs and dancing. And I found, especially when I'm performing, like there's such a like thrill and happiness I get that really just lets me fully let go and not have to think about my pain and sorrows and all those things I struggle with as having mental health conditions. And to just feel so free like that is just really rewarding. And that's what I love the most about just performing and using art as a healing tool. It can just be really profound, and it really helps me like discover more things about myself too, especially when I write poetry, like things I maybe didn't think of, but when I put it in that way, I can look at it in a different way, in a different lens, and be like, oh, like I can see that now. And it's just really validating.
Oh,
Indeed.
cool.
That's a good word. Yeah.
Well, it is. Yeah, I think it is validating. So, what would you say to someone who was feeling perhaps a little artistic, but feeling very shy and not wanting to be vulnerable about just what kind of value they might get from taking that step out of their comfort zone?
I think that, first of all, if you're a person who lives with mental health issues, or you are a family member of people who live with mental health issues, you've already done hard. So stop underestimating yourself, because sometimes, getting up and just making the day happen is plenty hard, which you've already proven you can do hard. And I would also say that, and this isn't exactly what you asked, Gary, it's the opposite of what you asked, but the beauty of art is that both the performer and the audience get that freedom that Max was talking about. They get that moment to be present to whatever it is, the music, the comedy, the painting, whatever. And so if you're a person like Gary or myself or Doug or perhaps Max as well, that loves being on stage and loves microphone, that's great. And you should find an outlet for that, whatever best fits you. But if you're an audience member, that's an equally profound way to experience art that can be healing too. So we all need audiences, and I will always be a good audience for singers. And just experiment, play. Life is too short not to play, and figure out what you enjoy and what brings you joy.
So, Doug, what would you add to that?
Well, I have a suggestion for people for whom the advice that, just experiment and play is an overwhelming prospect. And that is, I have a couple of ideas about that. One is, what I very often do is I start with automatic writing. I'll open my poetry notebook and I'll write down the first word that comes to my mind, and then the next word that comes to my mind, and so on and so forth. I don't edit, I don't screen, I just write down the next word that comes into my head. And very often, after I've written, maybe half a page at the most, a poem will start emerging, and it's a marvelous thing. And it can sometimes come from a very deep place. Another suggestion I have is Google Pongo poetry. Pongo, like the Dalmatian poetry, and it's the URL, I think, is pongoteenwriting.org, and they have activities. They're worksheets, is what they are. You just go there, you click on writing activities, and there's a menu at the left. You can click different categories of activities, and then there's a whole list of activities on the left. Under those categories, you click an activity, and you've got a worksheet, which is it's a framework. It's adapted from somebody's poem originally, usually, but it's been turned into a fill in the blanks exercise. And you just fill in the blanks right there on the screen, and you can print it out. You can send it to the Pongo people for a comment, and or you can print out the blank worksheet and do it with your pencil on the piece of paper. And it's a really, really marvelous way of, if you have no idea where to start, getting started, and it just, pulling things out of your heart and ending up with a poem. It's a wonderful thing. So that's it, Pongo poetry.
Sounds like a discipline. Sounds like something you would do. Hey, let's go do some Pongo poetry.
Well, yeah, I mean, discipline is a horrible word. But yeah, it's a discipline.
Or a kind of poetry. I don't know.
It's something you wanna. It's something you could benefit from. You know, going back to over and over. There's a vast variety of you know, activities there about all different kinds of subjects. These are people who go into juvenile detention centers and psychiatric hospitals for juveniles and do therapeutic poetry. And they're just a wonderful outfit.
Pongo
And,
poetry. Got to
I've
remember
used,
that.
Pongo poetry. I've used this technique I've gotten the training, and I've used this with my clients, and it's wonderful. It gives them a sense of self-confidence and self-esteem, and gets them in touch with feelings they might not otherwise have gotten in touch with.
Awesome. So we're at about 8:15 almost. So
I
we're a
also
little over.
wanted to say one more thing, Gary.
Oh
Sorry.
yeah, okay, because that's why I was going to say we wanted to wrap up, but yeah, please do.
Yeah. When I first met Gary, his singing was truly a comedy nightmare. But then I gave him some singing lessons.
He's responsible for what you hear. He's pulling the string.
Yeah, Gary's a good old pal. So we just got together, did some music the other day, and he's gonna sing one of my songs.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. So Tara, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, I
Okay.
oh gosh, I say no and then I always have something to add, right? It's Mental
Please.
Health Awareness Month, so I would say be really conscious about checking in with yourself and doing self-care that's meaningful and not cliched and lame. Really, really take care of yourself and check in with the people around you, because a lot of us are struggling. And so if that's you, you're not alone. And reach out for help if you need it. And if you don't need it, reach out for somebody else and help them.
Amen.
I was
Well,
gonna,
yeah, go ahead, please.
yeah, I was just gonna say that, you know, you don't have to identify as an artist to do art. Art can be in any form that you want or can see, and it's what you define. And I think that's a good value in life, of just feeling like what matters to you most and finding that. And that can really be helpful with mental health. I've found that doing like drawing art for me, especially when I was hospitalized, I did some painting, and I still have those paintings with me, and they're always just a reminder to me of that place, and kind of looking back but seeing where I am now, and it's just really beautiful. And I think art and just expression through art can be really inspiring, and that can bring a lot of hope, and especially dark times like these in the pandemic. I think, you know, that's something we all deserve and need, and it's awesome that we can, you know, have platforms like these to be able to present this stuff. And yeah, I just want to thank y'all for coming out and watching us, and we appreciate you, and take care of yourselves, and we're here.
Hey, thanks, Max. I see Tara said her battery is dying, so we don't know if she's even going to be there when we wrap up. But I just wanted to thank the entire panel, as it were, Doug, Tara, Max, for sharing both your insights and your talents. That's it for our Zoom night, Performing Your Piece. Again, we hope that anyone who's watching found it both enjoyable and enlightening, maybe even inspiring. Please come back next week for Speak Your Piece. That features spoken word and poetry, hosted by our one and only Sarah Kimes. It's also not too late to be part of one of the upcoming Zoom nights. You can find details on the remaining lights right here on our Facebook page, presuming that's where you are, including how to submit your performance or presentation for consideration. Check the chat box for links or email me. Mine is Gary@namicc.org. And don't forget our website, www.namicc.org. And like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and do whatever it is that's done on Instagram. Until next week, and on behalf of all of us at NAMI Clackamas, be safe and know that you are not alone.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks, Nami Clackamas.
Thanks, Tara.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Doug.